In a lot of sales roles, it's like, this is your 812th call with the customer selling the same product. Usually people are not just like gonna put the money in the bank and keep it there till they die.
Yeah, I want to buy a watch. I want to buy a Lamborghini.
That's one cool thing about sales. You can't hide behind a resume and you can't hide behind years of productivity. If all of a sudden you go sideways, people notice and you don't last. And that's hard.
Burnout is gonna happen. It's better for what you're working towards as opposed to not even thinking or not even knowing about what you're working towards and then pushing that hard.
Maybe park that Lamborghini somewhere else. Perfectly said. We should switch seats, Matthew.
All right, Mark, today we're talking about burnout. How can reps avoid burnout, whether it's their first year or their 15th year?
Yeah. As a leader, the way that I, help the team avoid burnout, and you can do this yourself. It's always the people just don't naturally burn it out. Is like you kind of come in with a mindset of like, all right, I gotta keep this job. I have to have a job. I have to pay my mortgage. This is my quota. I have to do my thing. But like, that's one cool thing about sales. It is one of the more stressful careers because you can't hide behind a resume and you can't hide behind years of productivity. If all of a sudden you go sideways, people notice and you don't last. And that's hard. But the cool thing about it compared to all the other functions is your potential income is not fixed in the short term. When you really perform, it shows up in your paycheck. And that can be quite motivating.
It can also be quite dangerous.
It can be dangerous.
People who are like, I want to double this right now. And then that can lead to burnout.
Totally. So it's like, if you don't have realistic expectations, that's definitely a piece of it. But I think what really happened in this story is like a lot of people don't think about what you're truly going after with that overperformance. And then when you root your work in that, I think it's a little bit like in psychology, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. And when you can tap into that intrinsic is essentially what we did, then that burnout can be avoidable. Avoidable? I guess. Yeah, that's cool.
Manageable?
Yeah. The burnout can be manageable. The burnout can be avoided. All right. So as a leader, I purposely took time months into someone's joining the team. It wasn't the first week because like in that first week, they're just not quite sure where they're at. They're still getting comfortable. Is this still the right place for me? I don't know who this Mark guy is. A couple months in, you're settled in, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, as we say, you're excited to be here, you're part of the team, and now you can probably open up. So that was needed. And I was very explicit around what is that intrinsic goal. Some people hadn't even thought about it. They hadn't asked the question. And now it was like in their soul. And I could connect that to the job. Like the lagging indicators of like quarterly outcomes and all the way back to the leading activities of meetings per week. And sometimes like in this case, it worked out and you could see the person glowing right away. Other times like you're checking the numbers 3 weeks later and you're like, they're not there. And you go back and like, hey, what happened? I thought we were like shooting for the engagement ring together. And it's like, but you can root it in that as opposed to the traditional like, go do the calls. I'll tell you a story, one of my favorite stories, and it's actually symbolic of the thing I miss most around leading a team. I had a salesperson join the team, and I sat down with him.
He's early in his career?
No, but it was his first time going into sales. As I did with a lot of my members of the team, at some point I want to have like a chance to like grab a coffee or something where we're just like not doing a pipeline review.
And when's this? Like 3 months?
Yeah, it's a couple months in, and there's an intention to it that I'll tell you about. The goal here is to like understand why he wants to crush his quota. Like there's a purpose for it.
Yeah, I want to buy a watch.
Yeah,
I want to buy a Lamborghini.
Exactly. And so that was like what I tried to get to. I was asking him, what would that extra money be for? A lot of the answers were like, I'm saving for an engagement ring. I'm looking for an investment property. I'd like to buy our first house. Like all these are great things. Some people, I want to buy a Lamborghini. Like there's different levels of shallowness, I suppose. Yeah, Matthew, that's what you're going for. But this one was like amazing because he had a son, I think he was like 10 or 11 at the time, that was autistic severely and was struggling in public school. There was an amazing private school for his son's condition, but he just didn't have the money for it. And that's what we sat down and scoped out. We were like, okay, what are we talking about? What's the tuition? Let's translate that into a commission payment. Let's translate that commission payment into a revenue outcome. Let's translate that customer revenue outcome into how many meetings you need per week. It went from this like really amazing life goal down to like the job of like meetings and all that kind of stuff. You could see his mindset shift. Even like as I observed him the next quarter, you could see a shift, and he did it. And
it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And I think it was probably 9 months later, his son enrolled in the private school.
How many good reps have you lost this year? Not the ones you expected, the ones whose resignations hurt. We built an AI coach that helps you spot burnout before it happens. This isn't generic advice from HR. It's based on what actually worked at HubSpot and dozens of other companies that kept their best people from flaming out. You answer a few questions about your team and it gives you a specific 90-day plan, including the actual conversations to have, recognition that lands, and career paths people can see. Plus scripts for when somebody's already checking out. 5 minutes with this tool can save you from that "can we talk" meeting that no one wants. Access it for free and start chatting with your employee retention and burnout prevention coach. Link in the description. It's not something I would have expected, or like even something entering into sales. If I was this person and I was new, I was coming from marketing or somewhere else, like maybe my expectation joining would not be that like my manager is going to figure out like what I value in life right now.
Yes.
And then let alone like work with me on breaking down how my job will get me to what I value most. If I was to sit down with you, I don't even know right now like what mine would be.
Yeah.
Of like what my biggest motivator would
Well, that's actually a good point, Matthew, is like maybe what's teasing out here is something fairly unique about the sales context. Cause like, you know, you're a producer and you love what you do and you choose this and you want to be doing this. And in marketing, I mean, people love sales. They love helping customers with problems, but there's other people in product who are like designing product, they're writing code, they're seeing stuff. There's more newness to it. We're doing a new episode, a new segment. There's creative juices. But in a lot of sales roles, it's like, this is your 812th call with a customer selling the same product. And yes, there's a new context there and new discovery around pains you're solving and a new personality and a new relationship and a new rapport, but there is a lot of overlap. And so maybe it's true with like customer support and CSMs and other roles too. But I think like we're on one end of the spectrum there. And because of that, this attachment to intrinsic motivation combined with the variable compensation that really allows you to go get there is applicable to the sales burnout question.
Sometimes I need to like protect myself, not just the company. Because by protecting like what I'm valuing, working towards something that's personal to me, that will end up actually helping the company. Not
Totally.
just like, are you hitting the phones? Are you hitting quota? Just hammering that over and over is probably only going to lead to burnout, or what will like lead to burnout faster.
I absolutely think it will. And it's like, you're really kind of flirting with a cultural like, you know, rooting. There are some amazing cultures where they tell the salespeople you're essentially CEO of your business. That's a great mindset that you have that deep control. As an engineer, it's harder to just be CEO of your business. You're kind of like part of a team, etc. But there is a lone wolf nature to sales often, and so you can be CEO of your business. And there are so many cultures like you're not leaving till you make 100 dials today. That's the worst. You know what you end up with there is you end up with salespeople calling fake numbers just to show their numbers. Right? Like, so that's not outcome based, and it's certainly not aligned with intrinsic goals and motivation.
And like, we're not saying you can always avoid burnout. Burnout is gonna happen. It's just like, if it happens, it's better for what you're working towards to be pushing hard at, as opposed to not even thinking or not even knowing about what you're working towards and then pushing that hard. That's more the burnout we're talking about.
Perfectly said. We should switch seats, Matthew.
I love it. Yeah, I'll be the new face of the channel.
Yeah, so here's the key takeaways. As a leader, don't manage the activities, manage the outcomes. Rarely do leaders push the outcomes to the intrinsic goal. Like, take that time to get to know that salesperson, get to know them personally, appreciate that strong performance creates great financial outcomes as well. And what does that mean for them? And help them attach their daily activity to that outcome. And for the sellers out there, you can do that without having a leader with that mindset or without waiting for your leader to do it. Ask yourself those questions and get up in the morning. And sometimes that job can be routine. Sometimes you can feel burnt out, but those feelings will be reduced if you can attach it to what you're trying to achieve from an intrinsic level. So producer Matt, maybe park that Lamborghini somewhere else.
Well said, Mark. I couldn't have said it better myself.
So that's it for our segment today. Be sure to check out those links that I threw in the description. Employee burnout is so critical to offsetting employee churn. You got to keep your best people. So that's a key part to scale. I hope you appreciate that. Good luck scaling. Happy scaling.